What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Nolan TCG, and we are back here today for another deck profile, and this time it's for Sprite. I guess a new ban list Sprite. We've been away for a little while. I haven't gotten around to doing a lot of deck profiles. I'm sure if you've paid attention to like other content that I've been in, we're just kind of getting back into the flow of it now. I've been sick pretty much all winter, so figured it's time to get back into it, and I figured why not start with the Sprite list that I've been going around with since the ban list dropped. I took it away to a regional for the past 2 weeks. Made small tweaks along the way. It's gone fine. I didn't top either event, but ultimately I'm super happy with the list. I just feel as though Sprite at the moment doesn't necessarily have what it takes to be a tier 1 deck. I think it's a great tier 2 deck, but ultimately at the end of the day, I don't think it's a tier 1 deck. But before we get started on this profile, as always, please do remember to drop down below and hit that subscribe button if you are new here, because we are always happy to have new people to the channel. And let's get on into this deck profile. Before we do get started on this one, though, it is brought to you, of course, by yourplaymat.com, who got us our beautiful Nolan TCG Extra Deck sleeves. These are available on yourplaymat.com, as well as you can get custom sleeves and custom playmats, so whatever you need for the current format. There is an affiliate link in the description down below that does get you a little bit of a discount on your order. Also, enter the code Nolan10YP for 10% off your order. Also kicks back a little bit to the channel, so everything will be very much appreciated. If you're shopping there, you're getting custom sleeves, custom playmats down. Make sure to enter our code at checkout. But let's get on into this deck profile. Okay, so starting us off, of course, we have our Sprite package, and that does entail our 3 copies of Sprite Blue to start us off. Honestly surprised this card hasn't like completely tanked in value. Given that like Sprite got hit pretty mercilessly, this like just still just holding. The package, though, overall like still super good. The Bane combo for like the build that I've built. You do really want to open either 1 copy of Blue or 1 copy of Sprite Jet, so we are playing 2 copies of each. It does facilitate your ability to really outgrind your opponent, so opening one of or the other is really essential. Or starter, you effectively have 9 copies of the cards you want. Then we do have the rest of our Sprite package, so we have 1 copy of Red and 1 copy of Carrot. Both pretty standard at this point. They are just essential to have in your deck. Of course, they are negations. However, we are playing the 9th Sprite, which is the Pixies. This card is so good against Rogue. This card is really, really good. Being able to like loop it effectively, just to out your problems every turn against Rogue decks, make it really good. I would 100% say play it every day of the week. I'm sure if you're a Sprite player, you've been thinking this already, but if you are new to the deck and you think an Honest isn't really that necessary for you, trust me, it is. It comes up a lot. These cards aren't very strong, and being able to out like just huge monsters is something that's very much needed. We then go into the rest of the level 2 package. So we are still playing the Swap Frogs. I do personally still want to play a Dupe Frog. Opening the I want to find a space for it though. I've considered cutting a swap for a dupe, but then that would mitigate me opening the swap and being able to even do the swap things. So keeping it at 3 is essential. I just need to probably find the space for the dupe, because it does feed into other things that we're doing, which will make sense as we get to the end. We then have our... I'm getting at the fact that you have to attack the dupe. That's the main reason I'm discussing that point. We then get to our Nimble package. So we've got 3 copies of our Nimble Beaver. That's our normal summon of choice, along with 1 Nimble Angler. In this build, this card, really, really good. I really want to play 3 copies of Nimble Angler, but again, like I've said, finding the space in the 40 cards and still managing to fit in other techs that I've chosen that are really good mean that the Nimble Angler has to fall by the wayside and just be at 1. We then get into the last of our level 2 package. So we've got 1 copy of Lilybell, of course, because we are playing the Trickstar package. It's a free level 2. And then Gale Dogra. Gale Dogra is facilitating the thing that we've chosen to make this deck unfair. Spoilers, it's Shadows. We are playing Shadows in this list. And the Gale Dogra makes it very unfair. We then get into our Hand Trap of choice. Again, still a level 2. We are, of course, going to be playing E-Telly. It'll make sense as we go through. But 3 copies of Gamma are our Hand Trap choice. Then we get into our spell cards. We have our 3 copies of Sprite Starter. Straight up standard. With 1 copy of Smashes. I remember at the start playing Sprite format, people were playing this deck. People were like, oh, why play the Smashes? Its track record has proven. We then have the Trickstar package coming in after that, the 2 Light Stage. I open like double light stage so often, so I definitely would probably consider cutting it. Maybe the Dupe Frog is what would come in for the other copy of light stage, if not another board breaker. I often found myself just siding out one light stage because I'd open 2 or I'd open 1 and the Lilybell, which hurts quite a lot considering the Lilybell's a Garnet. But it's just so good being able to pin back row, especially with the way a lot of decks are pivoted at the moment. There's always a back row on the field, so that you want to be able to light stage that. Makes it really good. It is your main deck spell trap removal. Smashes is for your Mystic Mine. Then we have, after that, 3 copies of Emergency Teleport. It does access our Gamma, gets another level 2 on board that we can play with. Not once per turn also, really cute. 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity in the main deck. Given that we do have cards in the extra that aren't necessarily always needed in every matchup, Prosperity can come in very handily in those matchups. Then we have our 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. You can cut this for whatever you'd like to cut it for if you don't like playing Dark Ruler. It's not necessarily a card that you 100% definitely need to be playing. Then we have 1 copy of Called by the Grave, of course, for stopping hand traps and other things in the format. And 1 copy of Foolish Burial. Very good with the Angler. It is effectively just like free bodies whenever you open Foolish Burial, so it's really good. Haven't opened it that much though. Yes, it is a 1 of 40 cards. You're not going to see it all that often, but when I've seen it, really good. And then lastly, the 40th card is 1 copy of Shaddoll Schism. I mentioned it before when we had the Gale Dogra, but of course the Schism is here for our Shaddoll package. Okay, and now we get into the extra deck. So starting us off, we have our Xyz. So we've got our 1 copy of Gigantic Sprite, followed up by a 2nd copy of Gigantic Sprite. Would really like to play either 3 of this or 3 Elf. I'm playing 2 of each. Finding the space for it would be easy if I cut the Shaddoll package, then it kind of eliminates what I'm doing with the deck at the moment. We then have our 1 copy of Totally Awesome. Yep, he's still hanging around here because we've got the Swap Frogs. 1 copy of Skycav with the Downed and the Zeus for our Zeus package. Then we have the Lynx. We got 2 copies of Sprite Elf. Again, like I said before, would like to find space for 3. There is probably a world where you could just cut the Swap Frogs and the Totally Awesome. It doesn't come up that much, but it is like really powerful if you open like Swap Frog as your normal summon with like a handful of extenders, which is what the deck entails. So cutting that kind of hurts. We then have our IP Masquerainer, of course, for the Link plays. This card absolutely essential now. You make it on pretty much every board. 1 copy of Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy, another card that comes up quite a lot now. 1 copy of Unicorn for transitioning through to our access code. This is option 1 for you to make off the IP Masquerainer. However, option 2 is Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avramax. So Avramax plus what's coming next, which is our Winder package, with the App Clone and the Winder, just makes our opponent's day not that fun. Because you're going, so you've got the Schism set. You go activate Schism at Chainlink 1, or at Chainlink 2 in response to them special summoning, ideally. And then you can Chainlink 3 the IP, Chainlink 4 the Elf targeting Jet. And then you end on like the Avramax plus the Winder. You odds on still have the Smashers set, so you can Smashers away something. But now all of a sudden they can't just go into battle and go over the Winder, which is why we kind of wanted the Dupe Frog in the deck. It just makes things like super awkward for the opponent. Also, there was a time where I've just like slapped this on board against Tearlament, and they've just Mystic Mined me and then drawn for a couple turns and realized they didn't have an out, which is quite cute. Sometimes decks just can't out the Avramax, especially when it can't be destroyed by card effect. But that does wrap us up here for the deck profile for this one. So as always, if you do any recommendations or things you would change, do make sure to comment them down below. Ideally, comment below what you're doing with Sprite at the moment. This is probably the last that I will be playing of Sprite for a little bit of time. Getting Sprint, I might work back in and try and figure it out again. But I'm just going to move on. I really want to be playing Dragon Maid Bisted. So do keep an eye out for that deck profile going up in the next couple of weeks. But as always, I've been Ben from Nolan TCG. And have a good afternoon, everybody.